Welcome to DMV Spotlight on ESPN 630, the sports capital, where we shine a light on local stories from the district, Virginia, and Maryland to inform, enlighten, and inspire you. I'm Barbara Britt. Well, among the challenges of battling the coronavirus is the impact on businesses large and small. Many businesses have been forced to rework how they conduct their daily routines on the fly. Other businesses have literally been ordered to close, at least temporarily. And my guest this morning is Gigi Godwin. She's the president and CEO of the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce in Maryland. Gigi, I learned, is short for Georgette, so I want to just thank Gigi Godwin for joining me today. She's served as the president and CEO of Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce since 2007, and we will be learning more about the chamber and its mission. And since 2008, Ms. Godwin has also served as treasurer for Montgomery County Community Foundation, which sponsors a National Center of the Veteran Institute for Procurement, the Public Safety Scholarship at Montgomery College, Economic Development Studies, and the Montgomery County Green Business Certification Partnership. Thank you so much for joining me on DMV Spotlight. You are a busy lady.
Thank you, Barbara. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity, and I appreciate your introduction. We do many things for our business community. It is so diverse. Therefore, what we do is diverse as well.
That is amazing. So, these are difficult days for so many people on so many levels. Obviously, on the health level, which we're not going to discuss necessarily, but we do want to talk about the impact on our businesses, and really that does have a snowball effect, don't you think?
Yes, definitely. Well, of course, this will be a continuing and evolving situation. First of all, our first concern is always the health and the safety of our community, our businesses, their families, their employees, our first responders, which we honor and work very closely with all of our public safety agencies. But first and foremost, the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce is an advocacy organization. We're a 501c6, and that means that during these times, what we've been is the voice of business at the federal level, the state level, and the county level. Yes, I know our name is Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce, but we have members all over the world, all over the nation, all over the Washington, D.C. region, and we work closely with the House and Senate Small Business Committee members of Congress, and they're incredible staff.
So for when you go into different towns, Gigi, you're reminding me, you often see a sign that says Chamber of Commerce. Are you telling me that you're all connected?
So we are informally, we all work together, but we're not technically connected. I mean, we're not, we all work independently because we all have our own boards of directors, our own separate funding. We're not a subset of another chamber, whether it's national or state. We certainly work with state and local chambers, particularly here in Montgomery County. But I talk to my colleagues all over the Washington region when it's a regional issue. So we're all independent, believe it or not, but that's appropriate because every community is unique. And so it makes sense that the businesses the business community would want to have its own organization advocating for the things that are important to that business community.
So for right now, Gigi, and I know we could have a very different conversation at a different time, but for right now, with what businesses in Montgomery County are facing, what are you and the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce advocating at this time?
Well, thank you for asking that question, Barbara. So here's our focus. We believe that all of our small, our mid-sized, and our largest employers are facing an unprecedented situation. And our main message to the federal decision makers and state and county has been to help our businesses with some of the most basic issues, starting with they need to keep cash on hand. It sounds like a simple issue. It is not. without cash on hand, they can't keep their employees employed, which is what every business wants to do. So we advocated aggressively at the federal and the state and the county level, and we're still doing that, by the way, because the federal government, the Congress has not resolved their $2 trillion package. By the time your listeners are listening to this, we hope we've got something enacted. And quite frankly, we work with the state, and we are currently working with the county government. We need our businesses to have time to hold on to the cash that they have, to take the steps necessary in a regulatory environment to stop, to allow companies to stop making payments of all kinds, because they need to hold on to their cash. This is not business as usual. They need grants more than they need loans. And if they're going to have loans, they need they need the kind of terms that allow for delay in repayment of those loans. And they need them to be pretty forgiving. Naturally, the banks need assurances as well. But we're very excited. SBA is expanding its facilities, and we've got the relief kinds of loans moving forward, but there's also business disruption loans which have wider applicability, and of course beyond SBA, and they are fantastic partners to our small business community, and we work closely with them at the chamber. They're a great source of information and assistance. The other side of it is the commercial environment, which is really the more extensive environment. So we've been advocating at all levels of government for a look at what has to happen with the Federal Reserve and our banks at the national level. Really that's going to benefit companies that are everywhere, way beyond necessarily our members or even this region. The most important thing is to be able to hold on to cash, keep cash, and be able to keep their employees. Otherwise, trying to imagine the extent of the disruption is almost the unimaginable. But that's what we're focused on right now, is advocacy and getting information to people, of course, that they can use as employers, and as well as to stay safe. And there's a lot of good information out there on that.
And let me circle back on a few things, Gigi, because you gave us so much information there, but help us understand what it is like. And I know there's no such thing as an average business owner, because they all have their own stories and they all have their own unique place in the community. But for Montgomery County, for people who may not be familiar with what kind of load a business owner carries emotionally. They are deeply invested in their business. They want to take care of their people. And so when these types of things happen, they really face really difficult decisions on a day-to-day basis.
You are right about that. And these stories, these are real stories in real time. They're compelling. They're emotional. I'm talking to business owners, my whole team, talking to companies, business owners that have construction companies, breweries, staffing, events, hospitality, our high-tech and biotech community, our national defense community. I mean, all of these companies and these owners are right here, and they've deeply invested in their employees. They consider their employees their families. And so the stories are real. They're compelling. Really what advocacy on their behalf is about. We're telling specific stories to our elected officials. Here's what it means. If we don't address these problems, this is what it means for this company that has these employees doing specific work. And our community here is a really diverse group of industries. We do have a lot of knowledge economy workers here, too. So we've got those people that can work off-site. So teleworking and best practices around that are part of it. But it's heartbreaking to talk to the owner of a brewery who is trying to decide how is she going to meet the payments and take care of her people and keep people on her staff. The same thing goes for the events businesses. We work with many of them. We know a lot of them. And their business, as you know, is a national story, but it's a regional story and a local story of how they're having to lay their employees off. It's heartbreaking. Construction workers, our national defense. And then we have incredible companies here who are trying to find the answer to what will stop this coronavirus in its tracks. And how do we prevent it in the future? So we have a lot of our biotech companies are working on that. So we have a lot of things happening at the same time here. It's personal. It's a human environment. It matters that these companies and their employees are able, to be cared for, to do the good work they're trying to do. It's just very tough.
And let me go back to, you made an important point, the distinction between getting a loan and a grant, because when people hear maybe in a report that, the Small Business Administration, SBA, has granted that businesses will be able to get some money, if they're taking a loan, obviously they're going to have to pay that back at some point. And I think you mentioned you were looking for more leniency there.
Well, you can, if you're running a restaurant, you can never go back and sell that sandwich or that dinner, right?
That's right.
That ship sailed. So, and actually, if you recall, it was just a year ago. It seems like it was a decade ago, but it was only recently that we had a federal government shutdown, and that caused a lot of course, disruption in our very big government contracting community here. We have incredible companies that support the federal government in meeting its mission in everything, defense and, of course, healthcare. And the Montgomery County is the home to Health and Human Services, and that means FDA and NIH. And so they're on the front lines of all of this. But you look at these companies; they can never go back and recuperate lost days, weeks, and in this case, it may even be months of revenue.
My guest this morning is Gigi Godwin. She's the president and CEO of the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce, talking about the impact of the coronavirus battle is having on our businesses, as Gigi has said, on the local and on the state and on the federal level. And so, again, for these businesses that hire employees and become part of the family, they're all working together, on any level, if these employees are let go, now, those employees individually also have to apply for unemployment. We're talking, again, this whole snowball effect where now you have not only are people not being paid, they're now needing more assistance from the county, from the state, from the federal government. So it really is critical to support these businesses at this very, very difficult time. So you said you've heard, what is the overall message you've been hearing from the businesses in Montgomery County?
I'd say it's a big help. And the good news is that our members pick up the phone and call us, and we're reaching out to them, but they're letting us know. And I mean, this is a 24/7 operation, because it doesn't ever stop. It's Saturdays, Sundays, it's at night, it's during the day. We're hearing from people on the impacts of, how some of the fixes are or are not working for them in real time. There's so many different ways that they're trying to hold on to their employees. I'm glad you said that, a job is really the best option, because when people are working, then they're able to pay their taxes eventually. But if if companies aren't able to keep people on the payroll, the devastating impact of that, as you said, it snowballs. It's a downward spiral that the nation can't afford to have, and certainly our community, our region, we can't have that happening here. And everybody's talking about this. I mean, every governor is speaking about it. Every county executive is facing the reality, and all our county elected officials is in fact meeting today to look at different ways that they can further help small businesses. They're very tuned in. They've become they have become very, very focused on this aspect. Naturally, you have to take care about health issues, keeping us safe, but they're also looking at the devastating impact the situation is having on employment and what that will mean for the county. But I am glad to see that a number of our council members are looking at, and our county executive are all trying to work together to find paths forward on ways to help our businesses. And again, it's real time. If you're applying for something and you don't know if you're going to be accepted, and it's 6 months before you get any help, that will not work for our small business community. They need relief now. I'm very concerned about property owners. they need their companies in their buildings, for that part of our ecosystem to work too. And what kind of help are they going to get as well in all of this? So, it's a big ecosystem. It's complicated, and our goal is to take every story we hear and make sure our electeds are informed of it. So when our companies tell us what their problems are, we immediately turn around and translate that. If they have a problem, there was certain kind of relief that was supposed to happen, and there was a hiccup in it. We find out, boom, we're on the phone, and we get right to the county agency or the elected official that's focused on that area. So now we're activist chamber, and I really would encourage everybody to get involved with their local chamber of commerce, wherever they might be, as they're listening to this, is that let them know you, because that's what chambers do, is that they are listening to business problems. I mean, I'm an advocate for all chambers and for people to get involved in their community so that they can help make a difference.
And the other thing, Gigi, that you have been talking about is that unlike some of these other times when we've had Snowmageddon or even some of the government shutdowns, everybody knows it's going to end at some point. I think one of the things that makes it so very difficult for businesses is that they really cannot plan because they do not know. They don't know how long it's going to be. We've all heard stories at this point of friends of friends or even ourselves who've been laid off for a little bit of time, or they'll say, we have to lay you off for now because we don't have the money to pay you. We want to hire you back as soon as we can. And in the meantime, these businesses, it's not just that people can't get to them. They have literally been ordered to close by the government. They have no recourse in trying to do their business. Some businesses have adapted. They've been able to deliver whatever they've been able to do, or we know some of our distilleries have been able to make sanitizer and just been very creative and American ingenuity, and I love seeing that. But at the same time, you have, let's say there's a hairdresser. She's worked all her life to have this shop, and now she's not getting any clients in, and she's got to pay her bills. And these are the real stories. She's got to look at her people and say, I wish I could help you. I can't.
You are so right about that. And we talk about this a lot. I mean, when we're doing advocacy, the message we have is uncertainty is the most unacceptable situation for our businesses, because they don't know how to plan. They want to do the right thing. Every one of them does. Every business owner. And I think your example of somebody who, finally achieves their dream. They've started their own salon or their own restaurant or their own brewery or their own construction company or their own, you name it, their own IT firms. We have so many people who are building incredible technologies, and then especially in this community, serving the government and health and human services. It's a huge part of our economy. But how do they plan when you have this much uncertainty? And as you point out, this is not a snowstorm where you see the snow removal equipment. You're out there with your neighbor shoveling. Wish it was that simple. You can kind of guess when that's going to be over. Even the federal shutdown, which was disruptive, we knew wouldn't go on forever, and all it required was really for Congress to come to a decision. But this is a virus, and this is a much harder obstacle to deal with. This is a much tougher battle to fight, and it's very hard to guess when this period is going to be over. We are looking into the global stories. What happened in other countries. How did they manage it, and what were the results? And can any of us make a guess? But the other side of it is, you mentioned ingenuity, and people are having to come up with new solutions, so new products, new ways of doing things. And I think a lot of those stories will come forward. Neighbors helping neighbors. There's a lot of, we have a wonderful community here. People do help each other out. But again, it's very hard to plan for something that's never happened in our lifetime. Very few people alive today have lived through a pandemic, right?
Absolutely.
So it's too much uncertainty. It's very difficult. But that's why we're advocating, is that we have to identify the problems we can identify, and we're trying to put certainty in place by saying, okay, we don't know how long this is happening. But we do know that today you have to get through this week and next week and the week after that. So what are the things we need to know, and what are the things we can do to make that better for our businesses so they can keep their employees working?
And one of the things that I want to share with people, and we'll do this again at the very end of the show, I'm speaking today with Gigi Godwin. She's the president and CEO of the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce, is that the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce on their website has a special resource guide for small business, for all businesses in the county. And it is broken down by federal and state and county level for the kind of resources and information and documents that you might need if you are a business that operates in Montgomery County. Very helpful. So obviously that website is www.mcccmd.com/coronavirus. So that's the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce, Maryland.com/coronavirus. We'll share that again at the end of the program. It'll be on our website at ESPN 630 as well if you want to get those resources into your hand. And Gigi, I want to talk about also, I know that in normal days, and we're all looking forward to even normal days, that one of your passions is really advocacy on behalf of our veterans and our community, and that you have really invested a lot of time and effort in that. So tell us about those efforts as well.
Well, I love to tell you about the Veteran Institute for Procurement. And by the way, I know it's a mouthful, so we call it VIP.
That's
short.
Very helpful. Thank you.
I know. So VIP, in normal times, we are very, very proud of the fact that we have an amazing national program, and the goal of that program is to arm our veterans to win in the federal contracting space. This is a training program on best business practices for veteran-owned small businesses. So this is that community of veterans that are small businesses that support the government. So these are federal contractors, and so our best practices are all on how to win those contracts. Compliance in federal contracting is stringent, and they have very high standards, as they should be, because they're helping our country be safe. And so they're helping the country meet its mission. And they've already spent a lifetime and a career defending our country. And so we believe that they deserve to be trained so that they're successful in business as well. We do not charge our veterans for this program. It's a 3-day intensive program with 27 sessions and 28 instructors. Most of our companies are quite surprised at how rigorous it is. Our approach is to teach them best practices using instructors from the marketplace. It's all market-based training, and it runs fast and furious. And we've really created a community. Today we have over 1,400 graduates. We're pushing 1,500, actually. They come from all 50 states and 3 territories. So we have quite a few. We have a full national reach on that effort. And the goal, again, is to train them to be successful in federal contracting. I'm happy to say that we've been doing the program for 10 years. We just celebrated a 10-year anniversary a few months ago. And 85% of our graduates are still in business 10 years later. A pretty hard statistic to match with most training programs.
That is an amazing statistic, and that really circles back to what we were speaking about at the beginning. Here you've had a veteran who's already served their nation. They've gone through your training. They've opened a business. They are part of the federal procurement process. They've had the training. They've learned about the compliance, and now they may be struggling. And that is a challenge. That's an extra challenge, isn't it?
It is. And I have to tell you, we would not be able to do this program if we didn't have a public-private partnership. And I just want to say that thank you to the United States Small Business Administration. We'd started the program. They learned about it, investigated it, loved the results, and they have been incredible supporters. And similarly, the state of Maryland, we're really proud to say that the state of Maryland has been a very consistent, solid supporter. Montgomery County Economic Development Corporation is a supporter of the Veteran Institute for Procurement because, after all, we are the national headquarters right here for that program. And we're really proud to have Lockheed Martin and many other fabulous companies that are strong supporters of the program as well. So it's a public-private partnership, all three levels of government, because everyone sees how important it is, knows, believes, and has embraced the goal of arming our veterans to be successful in federal contracting.
And, this is a perfect segue into talking about your golf tournament that hopefully you'll be able to have July 17th, your VIP golf tournament. And I want to say there's a lot of golf tournaments in the area, Gigi, that have a ball drop, but I think yours may be the only one where the ball drop comes from a helicopter. That just cracks me up.
Yes. Have you seen the video? It is a scream. Yes. And we should check the date. I think it's Monday the 13th, but I don't have that right sitting in front of me.
I believe you're right. I apologize. Monday the 13th of July. And hopefully you'll need to check on the website because obviously everything nowadays is up in the air a little bit, but
Thank you for saying that. And I appreciate the plug on that. It's a great event, and but the important thing is it raises money for our veterans, because when we started the program and to this day, we do not charge our veterans. They do have to get here from wherever they are. But once they get here, we have them for 3 days at the Bolger Center in Montgomery County, and it's a great intensive. You have to kind of be all in and doing, spending every waking moment and making new, relationships. It's a big learning environment for them, and it's also a big relationship opportunity. And our companies all continue to work together. We also created an online marketplace for our graduates, which we're really happy with. And you have to be a graduate of our program to be in that, and that's so the customer can find them. So, if you train people but the customer can't find them, that doesn't get you to the end goal. So we do get to the end goal by creating that opportunity, and we keep everybody in touch with each other. So we're really excited about that. And we couldn't do it, frankly, without the counties, without the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors support. They supported us establishing the foundation, starting the program. It was a pilot. You start something, you don't know if it's going to work. But if it weren't for the consistent thought leadership of our Chamber's Board of Directors, and if you look on the site, you'll see incredible industry diversity and just amazing thought leaders. And they said, they supported the effort, but without them, we couldn't have done it. And so, it takes a village. It takes a lot of thought leadership to be able to launch that. Certified green business, same thing. We started that 10 years ago. You don't know if these things are going to work, if they're going to have value, if they can make a difference. Our goal, of course, and I love this about my board of directors and the Chamber's team, is we want to leave it better than we found it. I grew up with that kind of belief, and I feel like that's what our mission is to help our companies by accelerating their success. All of our companies, whether it's our veterans, our other small businesses. We have lots of women-owned, minority-owned, Hubzone. We have a lot of companies that work with us, commercial businesses, and companies with a foot in both, in all those categories. So that's our goal, is to help our companies, and you help them when you accelerate their success, because time is of the essence.
And this time is so incredibly challenging for our businesses. And I've been speaking, we're almost out of time. It's hard to believe, Gigi. There's so much information here I want to share with people. I've been speaking with Gigi Godwin, the president and CEO of the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce in Maryland. And I want to, again, share the website information, www.mccmd.com. If you stick coronavirus on there, just go on the main page. You'll see where you can click if you're a small business, with tons of resources that can help you. And I just want to thank you so much, Gigi, for joining me today on DMV Spotlight on ESPN 630.
Thank you, Barbara. It's a pleasure. And I look forward to continuing the conversation.
Thank you so much. I'm Barbara Britt on ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.